Have you ever stood in front of your closet for hours, just not sure exactly what to wear to that event, to work? You're just throwing clothes all over your room. Well, that's me sometimes. And I know it might be a lot of you out there as well. So today, I want to introduce you to my guest. Her name is Toi Sweeney, and she is your secret weapon to tackling those issues you have in your closet. She is a brand and fashion stylist for so many people. She is well known. She is amazing person as well. And she's going to share with us some advice on how to make the choices that are right for you and for your brand and for your lifestyle. So I hope you enjoy. Hey, Toi! How are you? I'm so excited.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm good. I was thinking I was more excited about just getting to see you and chat with you than doing this show because it's so long.
I know. I'm missing our lunch dates.
Oh, I know.
I can't lean across the table and hold your hand and go, hey, tell me everything.
I know. So we just have to deal with texting and the phone for now, but that's all good. But thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. This is Toi Sweeney, one of my dear friends. I'm so happy that she agreed to be on the show with us. She is just so talented, such a special person, and I'm glad that I get to share her with the world.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So let's start off by just first of all, let's think back on how we met. I always do that too. I feel like was it a church?
No, you were modeling at QVC.
Okay.
Yeah, and was I a stylist or was I booking in the booking department at that time? I can't remember. I feel like
I remember seeing you in the hallways
I was in the booking department
for
at that time.
yeah.
Yeah, I started in the styling department and I booked in the booking department for 2 years and then I went back to styling. But yeah, I think that was what it was because then I would see you at all the open calls and then just,
Yeah.
and then over time, I realized that we had a mutual friend that went to my church. And yeah, and then it was like, then I didn't see you anymore, but I was just like, hello. I know that you're like big time now, but we're gonna be friends. Model, actress,
Days where like the cattle calls and the long lines, but QVC. So speaking of QVC, you worked on QVC for a long time. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was there for 16 years. Before QVC, I kind of did the whole retail thing. I went to school. My degrees are in fashion marketing and fashion design. And so I had a ton of leadership experience working for companies like Ralph Lauren, White House Black Market, Crabtree and Evelyn. And I wanted to get some buying experience. And so it took me 2 years, but if I finally landed a job on QVC or in QVC and the buying department, and I was really horrible at that job. And so I was like, oh boy, I thought that I wanted to do this, but I don't. So I decided to go back to school. That was when I went to school for fashion design. And then I started working freelance in their image department as a fashion stylist while I was pursuing my design degree. So that ended up being a perfect like match in heaven. And I ended up staying in the image department for the remainder of my time there. And so I worked from working on regular shows, the PM Style and the LRS show, which was the Lisa Robertson show at that time. And then I got promoted to style director, where I was part of the team that dressed all 30 program hosts. And so I did that for a while. And then I left about 4 years ago. And then I became the founder of the WellDressed Brand. And I wrote my first book called Secrets of a WellDressed Brand. And since then, I've been featured on, I think, over 20 podcasts. I've had a feature in Forbes, Forbes.com, BBC News.com. I had a feature in Where Women's Work magazine, which is the spread behind me. HelloGiggles.com. It's a bunch of stuff, but all of it's listed on ToiSweeney.com. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. That's what I've done. And so I work with mostly founders and CEOs or people in the industry or entertainment business. And my passion is really to turn people into brands. And so I teach people how to use their wardrobe as a business strategy.
Love that. I love that. Let's go back a little bit to young Toi. Well, let's imagine little young Toi. I'm trying to
Yeah.
that she is so adorable.
You're so sweet.
What did you want to be a fashion designer when you were young, or was this something that you kind of grew into?
Yes and no. Like, yes, really. So I think it's one of those things. My business coach, Natalie Gregg, she has this whole platform that she builds around leading loudly, and she talks about play a lot. And and I believe our messages kind of are married, because I believe kind of who you are and what you're doing at 5 is probably what you should be doing, that little girl inside of you. So I was always putting on shows, and so I thought I was going to be a dancer. I always loved theater, but I was getting my love from fashion, or of fashion, from Fame and watching like all of these musicals. I didn't realize at the time how much was like going into my mind. So younger, like 8, 9, you could not tell me that I was not, first of all, going to be a Charlie's Angel.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right? I was like, I'm going to be a Charlie's Angel, and my maiden name is Jackson. And oh gosh, is it Kate Jackson, one of the Charlie's Angels? And I would like pretend she was my cousin, like her and Michael Jackson. And I was like, so when you look at pictures of me from that time, I'm like full on giving you, like, I'm giving it to you. But, but at the same time, my grandmother would, she would hem my uncle's pants, and I'd take the remnants and make, denim dresses for Barbie. And I was just really, really creative. And so it really was more of a love for the arts, and it hasn't changed. And so I didn't think about fashion design or styling until I didn't think about it until really late. I was in high school, and we had moved from New Jersey, where I was going to like a primarily Black school. And then we moved to Pennsylvania when I was 14, and then I went to a primarily white school. And so the African-American students that were there, the Black students that were there, a good portion of them were pretty affluent, and so they lived in 2-parent homes, and they drove Beamers to school, and they, or at least had cars. And then there was a group of us who walked or took the bus. And so, but it introduced me to a different level of Black excellence and Black friends. And so with that, I started being introduced to, I had a friend in high school named Erin, and she's like, you should be a buyer, like Jasmine Guy on A Different World. Yeah. So I just really thought that buying was going to be my thing, and that's how I ended up going there. But once about the last month in fashion marketing, like right before I graduated, my heart started tugging for fashion design. I was like, but I'm like, I'm graduating like next week, So I was like, oh man. So of course I just went ahead and graduated. And then, I went back maybe 2 years later for fashion design. And I loved, it was hard, but I loved every moment of it. And that was exactly where I should have
been. So this thought just came to me. So I don't know what my question is specifically, but do you do both like designing and fashion, like designing clothes, fashion, and also styling? Do they kind of go hand in hand? Is there one you like more than the other? Because you do design clothes, because I remember you doing that. And
I did for a while. So I launched, my first company was called Her Majesty the Queen, and I was doing couture level evening gown and bridal gowns. And so when the last time, I'm sorry, do you remember that?
I remember that. Yeah.
And so when the market crashed, oh gosh, was it 2008? down with my business, kind of like the times now, but it didn't survive. It was just
Yeah.
too much overhead
Yeah.
and things like that. So, and this is not my first time at the party, but I was like, I'm never going to have overhead again. It was really, stressful, but
Mhm.
I miss it. And I think that it's weird. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, there was a reason that I did fashion marketing, because I do love business. And then also design. Now, design for me was different because um, how do how do I describe it? Fashion design for me at that time, when I started designing gowns, it was the only time that I felt beautiful,
Wow.
because it was so much deeper. Like, I felt smart. I felt I could see kind of my sense of worth, because it was so, and it still is so magical to me, that you would start with a blank sheet of paper,
Oh,
and then and then, like, you can sketch something completely out of your head, and then you come up with these color palettes, and then you have to go search fabric, and every button, every zipper, every piece of thread, every the collar shape, you have to sketch it out. The hem of the dress, you have to sketch it out. Where is the zipper going to go?
getting it to the person's body, making it.
Yeah. And so now I hired a pattern maker, but I really just love the designing aspect of it. And then when you get your samples back, and then to see someone, whether it be a model or an actual client, walking out in something that completely came out of your head, it just made me feel so whole. And I remember going, when I had to, pack that business away. I remember just boxing up all the dresses, and I donated the gowns to a technical, like, design training center for high school girls. And oh my gosh, Keisha, I cried and I cried and I cried.
Mhm.
It was like a death, I really had to. I was really grieving it, and I just kept saying, it's just on the back burner. It's
Yeah.
not forever. It's just for now.
And
Um,
earlier, I feel like all these things are stepping stones to where you want to be. I mean, you had to have that piece of that background to understand probably other things in the business. So I think it was important, you know?
yeah, it makes a huge difference now, because, so then when I, packed that away, and I really found myself kind of stuck in my career, I was forced to kind of look at branding, because that was, is it 1998? Um, Gosh, Tom Peters coined the phrase personal branding. So
Mhm.
I wasn't finding it into, a few years later. And, that was when it was like, if you feel stuck in your career, kind of a thing, like, personal branding is the way out. And so once I kind of started researching that and fell in love with that, and kind of made it formulaic for myself,
Mhm.
and then I was able to make it formulaic for other people. And then also, specifically at QVC, as I started tapping into the image consulting side, because there's a difference between a fashion stylist and an image consultant. So a
Got
fashion stylist kind of knows, like, how to put an outfit together. They may or may not be able to explain to you why, but they know how.
it. Wow.
The image consulting is really more about rules, right? So the necklace needs to go here, and then you need to have a V-neck, and you need to be open, and if your hair is this color, and if your skin is that color. So they have the rules. And so I was able to get, like, some image consulting training on top of my fashion styling, on top of the fashion design, on top of marketing. So I really am kind of a very different, I'm looking at everything through a very different eye than most stylists or most image consultants, because of just the journey of me being here. And so my superpower is just that I know what things should look like.
Mhm.
And as a wardrobe stylist, like, I understand the narrative and how to tell a story through your wardrobe. And then through the psychology of color, we can sway that and narrow that, so that you can pretty much nail any job.
No,
And if you don't get it, it wasn't because of, you.
and I think that's the thing that kind of sets you apart. The thing that I love about what you do specifically And I think you kind of, I'm not going to say the words correctly, but basically one of your things is to kind of make you be able to feel confident in whatever area you're in. For example, in your book, I forget her name. She's a host on
Stephanie.
actress. What is it? Stephanie.
Stephanie Humphrey, yeah.
Yes. And I love her story and how she like just feels when she went to an audition or whatever, because if you feel good about what you're wearing and how you're coming
Yeah.
across, it makes such a big difference. And I believe that 1000%. 1000.
Yeah.
People think it's not a big deal, but it is.
Well, I think that it's psychological, right? And I think that most people think that it's a big deal in the sense of like they should look good, right? And they know that, yeah, I'm probably going to feel a little bit better. But what I do is that I take it to a whole nother level and said, and it's really not, people talk about for years, you grow up hearing, well, you want to make a good impression, you want to make a good impression. I say, scratch that. I don't care about your good impression. You need to make the right impression. So I always start with my clients. What are you trying to say? What do you want to say? How do you want to be remembered? And the story that you're talking about that Stephanie tells in the book is that we got her dressed for an audition, and she had parked, and New York City blocks are pretty long compared to some other city blocks. So I don't even forget how many city blocks she walked in New York, but every stop, someone was stopping her and giving her a compliment on her outfit. And so by the time she got to where she was going in the audition, she already felt like 1,000%, because it was like, and it was very simple. It wasn't a whole bunch of like crazy bells and whistles, but because it was the right thing, and because we created the right narrative, for her being able to nail that audition, because she's not playing small with the types of auditions that she's getting. So she needed to look next level. She needed to dress the way that she wanted to be addressed. And that's what I do.
Love that. Love, love, love that. So let's talk about your book. The WellDressed Brand is the name of your book. Tell us, give us like a little overview of what the readers will get in the book. What's it all about?
So, Secrets of a Well-Dressed Brand. First, I have to say, it's not a disclaimer, but I have to say it's only available on iTunes, so don't shoot me if you are not an iPhone user or iPad user. It's typically a better experience on like an iPad because it's an interactive ebook. And so what that means is that there's videos, there's text, there's a bunch of infographics. I just try to give you as much information as humanly possible. I didn't leave any stone unturned, and I take you briefly through the history of branding. I talk about why it's important. I go through the psychology of color. I talk about what impact your style and your brand has on other people. And then we talk a little bit about some things you should have in your closet. I talk about things for your business if you're an entrepreneur, pricing, the way that you should set it up as a brand, why you need to set it up that way, helping you to figure out what level of brand you are. Are you a Target? Are you a Walmart? Are you Nordstrom's? Or are you a Neiman Marcus? And then we go all through that. And and then I just kind of bring it all home with helping you to lay the foundation and talking about what exactly makes you so fascinating. And so there is a style test in there, and there's also another assessment test called How to Fascinate, which I give you in the book. Now, it's not given, but there's a link to it in the book. You have to pay for the test separately.
That's really cool. I got the book. I love it. And I think it's really cool book because, like you said, you can click on a link. It takes you to a video, and it's like kind of fun. It's different. I like that.
Thank you.
And one of my favorite parts of the book was the psychology of color, and that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today. So, as you all know, I'm also an actress, and color is important, because, for example, especially now, a lot of us are doing self-tapes. So we have to shoot from home, and we, need to be aware. Should we be wearing stripes, patterns? What color goes well with our skin tone? To make us look in the best possible light. For example, recently I did a self-tape and I wore white, and I really didn't like it because it reflected on my face and it made my chin looked kind of weird. And I'm like, ooh, can't do that again, you know? So it's like, or, you know, so what is, do you have any tips for actors or anybody, I guess, in general, as to like how to choose colors that are good for your skin tone, that, you know, make you feel good or whatever, maybe colors that are good for camera? Any ideas or suggestions there?
Of course. So I think that, you have to consider what you're auditioning for. Do you have a character base, saying like it's a lawyer, it's a mom, it's a cop, it's a whatever. So obviously you want to kind of go through those things. I think the self-tape sometimes can be a little harder. But again, the first question you want to ask yourself is, how do you want to be perceived, right? And so typically, if we're talking about, a Black person or African American person, depending on the role, again, that you're trying to go for, even if it's a mom or a dad, in its commercial, then you want to make sure that you're coming across friendly and approachable. Just because of all the things that we know, right, in the world of unconscious bias. And so sometimes if you're wearing Black, instead of it being perceived as elegant, it will be perceived as aggression.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you wear bright colors, they're kind of seeing the color first. If you are darker African American or Black like me, with brown eyes like you, then jewel tones are going to work best on camera and in general. Cool tones are always going to look great as well. So like I would be considered a cool tone, but I'm wearing a warm top today. And so when you see me in blues as opposed to, this warm orange color, what you're noticing right now on camera is the top. You're not noticing me as much. Like everything else tends to fall in the background. And so that's just what happens when you don't wear the right color. It either may wash you out, but like if you're lighter complected or Caucasian or have olive skin, that's when you want to be really mindful of colors washing you out or just the top wearing you. Mm-hmm. And so that's one thing, but jewel tones look the best on camera, jewel tones and pastels. You want to be careful with white because if you're filming on an HD camera, it will tend to make it hot, as they say in the industry. And so I always think about the gum commercial where the woman's like, dirty mouth, ding, and her her smile gets like super bright. So that's what happens to white on camera. So if you're filming something for a beauty product or a toothpaste product or something like that you need to have light reflected up to your face, and that's perfect for that. Yeah. Otherwise, blue sends a message that you're trustworthy and kind of reliable. So any shade of blue is always going to look best. So there's a whole color palette that I go through in the book as well. But to answer your question, jewel tones and pastels are going to look the best on camera. But you want to consider, what you're going out for.
Yes. And I think that that's great too. Like when you get the book, you'll see like different colors to wear for different occasions. Like you just said, I think it's so interesting when, they say blue is a trustworthy color. Who wears blue? Doctors, they usually tend to wear blue. And you treat your doctor someone you need to trust, So I think it's very interesting. Like you said, the psychology of color is so true. It's the thing.
I think that to drive it home, when you think about Apple, when they came out years ago, we were all rocking when we were little, right? It's like a sea of Black headphones. So white is the color is a luxury color, but it's the color of hope. It's the color of change. So it makes sense, when you're thinking about it from a branding perspective, it makes sense that their slogan is think different because it begs you to try something new, and so Black is about elegance and it's about power and sophistication. And so, but when it's too much of it, right, it becomes a commodity. And so we were all walking around with, Black headphones. And so for them to come out with these white packaging and these white headphones and it was like, hey, when you were wearing, an Apple product, you knew that somebody had an Apple product. So that's one of the best ways that I think that color was used,
Interesting. That's cool. Very cool. Now, do you think that everybody should have a brand?
Well, everybody has a brand, whether they realize that they have a brand or not, because you're being perceived good, bad, or indifferent. You know, somebody has an opinion of you. And so the great thing about personal branding is, again, you get to control the narrative. You get to decide, what that is. And I mean, like, obviously not everything. Some people are always going to not like you. Someone's always going to think whatever. But I was at a conference over the summer and with a bunch of other coaches, and one of the coaches who I've never met before, and he looked at me and he said, "You really live your brand," because I showed up as who I said I was. And I dressed in a way that commanded a certain amount of respect, or made it very obvious that I do something in fashion for a living. You know what I mean? And so each day, we probably are on day 3. So at this point, he had seen 3 different outfits. I hadn't gone up and spoken in front of the group yet. And I remember him leaning over to me and he said, "You really live your brand." And I thought that was the best compliment.
Great compliment. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So I know I've had the pleasure of using your services more times, and I feel like I said, what you do is just so phenomenal. It's so easy to work with you, and you just, and everything you do is just spot on, like spot on. And can you tell the viewers what types of services that you offer, in different levels? Because I know that, everybody probably has different budgets, different levels, like, starting from something basic, can you like just, help somebody pick out an outfit for an event, or can you, literally be someone's personal stylist for the long haul? Like, what types of things?
Yeah. So I don't do a whole bunch of that stuff anymore, just because I've been doing this for a really long time, probably longer than I would care to admit. But I've been doing it for a couple of decades. So I'm not, like I said, I don't really consider myself like I'm a stylist. I'm a stylist. I'm an image consultant, a branding agent, and and a personal development coach in one.
Okay.
And so so the first line of defense to do business with me. I live next to a train. You can hear it. But to just answer like basic style questions. Most of those questions can be answered in my book.
Yeah.
And so when you go and look at the books, again, it's called Secrets of a WellDressed Brand. It's only sold on iTunes. If you look at the reviews, you can kind of see how people were like, "Oh," because they've called or emailed me, and I was like, I'm not trying to sell you, but I think you should take a look at it because that's going to answer those questions like thoroughly.
Yes.
And so then they'll go back and they'll read it and they'll email me back and like, "Oh my goodness, that was way more than I had anticipated."
Yeah.
So that's $29 of like $1,000 service right there. And then the second part is that we start to lay the foundation of your brand. So you get my style tests, you get the Fascination Advantage, and that's going to give you a 16-page report that really lays down the foundation of your brand. So what it does is it tells you how the world sees you, as opposed to how you see the world, like a Myers-Briggs or Strength Finders or something like that. That How to Fascinate is the only assessment test in the world that says, hey, here's what everybody else is seeing, and let's see how we can capitalize on that so you're doing more of what you're naturally good at without trying, and then you build your brand from there. And so you merge those two together, and I forget what the price is. It's on my website. I want to say that is probably about $800, and then through that you get like a mini lookbook of like, here's the foundation. So you get a 16-page report, you're getting the style test, and then I give you like a mini lookbook that's like, here's what you should look like. So then that kind of gives you that. And then the next level is those two plus we go shopping, and then it breaks down to a full day shop. And then you get a longer report that goes through your hair, your makeup, signature jewelry, like really creating a signature look for you. And that's probably my biggest package, which I think is like $4,000. But everything's done, and then you have like a PDF, and then you also have like this a physical lookbook of what you should look like. And a lot of clients just put it in their closet.
Mhm.
And then of course you can call and reach out to me anytime, and then we can get specific for events, but at least
Right.
how you should show up
Right.
each time.
Yeah, and that's great. Like I said, that's so great because I know there's many times where I like, and I've talked to Toy about this so much, where it's like my closet. I'm like going in there and I'm like ripping out like 50 different things because I don't know what to put on, how to put it together, and my shoe game is the worst. But like it's so bad.
You
But
have a good sense of style, or you don't give yourself enough credit. And you're saying that because I've yelled at you privately about your shoes, but you don't have bad shoes. It's
yeah,
just that when you get ready to go to an audition, and I'm just, like trying to like get you dressed, and like, it's like, oh, tomorrow, and then I'm like, what else you got? You're like, no, we can't. We don't have time to shop.
I don't know
So
what.
we're just trying to figure it out.
But I'll go to, I mean, I said to her, I was like, all right, I'm running to Target. I'll be right back. To Target.
But listen, it was done.
It was done.
It happened.
Good. I felt good. I felt
Yeah. And I love a good challenge. Like, you can throw me any, I love stuff like that. You're like, okay, I have this, and this, go. And I'm like, okay, what are we thinking? Trench coat, skinny jeans, cropped, pink shirt, go. You're like, okay, I'm going to Target. And then you'll send me a picture, and I'm like, nailed it.
great.
It's fun. The Adventures of Keisha Bar.
I know. I know. My life. I need to do one of those reality shows or something because it's not. But no, for real though. I mean, I feel like it's just. I feel like having that, and I haven't done the full service with you yet, but I feel like, but how you describe it sounds so great to have, like, just a set idea, and then you can mix and match. I'm sure once you have, the basics, you mix and match,
Yeah.
everything just goes and fits with who you are. And I also find it's things that you happen to love, the pieces.
Yeah, and you don't, once you have kind of had the foundation in your brain, like, it's just going to cut down on a decision fatigue. And just imagine being able to reach for anything in your closet. You don't have to think about it. Everything works. And your closet is a true reflection of your brand. That's what I'm trying to help you do. And then think, I can't remember if I tell the story in the book. I might, I'm not sure. But, I think I might have, but I had an experience. The reason I got to that with the whole branded closet was, and that was a service that I don't offer anymore, but was I was going to work one day, and I was an hour from QVC, and I woke up like really late. Like, I woke up the time I should be leaving the house. And so I'm like, if I can manage to get out of the house in 15 minutes, then I should probably still make it. I'm not gonna make it to work on time, but I'll make it for my 10 a.m. meeting. And so I wake up, and it's 8 o'clock, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm supposed to leave the house. And I remember, I was like, thank God I don't have any hair, to have to like do. And I just remember, like, okay, you're frustrated, and I ran into my closet, and it was a mess. And I just picked up off the floor, like, I grabbed a black t-shirt off my shelf, a black pencil skirt off my floor. I grabbed my leopard scarf and my leopard wedges, and I chucked them in my bag, and I ran to work. I get there, I drop everything down, I put my shoes on real quick, I throw the scarf on, I go in the bathroom, and I do my makeup, I pop on my denim jacket, I grab my clipboard, and I head off to my notebook, and I head off to this meeting. And as I'm coming back, I get like all these compliments. And they're just like, you always look so pulled together. And I said, this was on my closet floor this morning. But then that was when I had the epiphany of, but when everything in your closet works, when it really works together, and you only allow maybe like 6 colors, right? And then you match your accessories together. They don't have to wear them together, but if you buy a navy pair of pumps, and you get a navy bag, and then you buy a green denim jacket, and you get a green pair of flats, you can just kind of mix and match, and then everything just is very harmonious, and it makes sense. So when you want to match, you can, and when you want to mix and match, it's still perfect. And then you get a print that has green and navy in it, right? So now you got this printed top. So if I call you and I'm like, Keisha, let's go. I got invited to this, really private dinner party, and we need to go. And I'm like, and it's in an hour. You're like, okay, I have that satin green and navy pencil skirt. Now you have an option of flats or pumps that you can wear. You know what I mean? Like it all just works together. And so when you think about it that way, and you have a closet that speaks so securely to your brand, you can take over the world. You don't even have to think. We have so many decisions to make in a day.
I know.
Like, why would you want to waste time thinking about that?
Also, I think about for myself, even, as an actress, when I act, I'm get ready for stuff. I'm like, I'm wasting so much time figuring out what to wear instead of audition. That's what's important, and it's the same thing like in any profession. Like, you don't want to be wasting time getting yourself together when, you could be doing other things. This is a quick, surefire way to be prepared.
Absolutely. And we're going to have different portions of our closet, right? There's a portion that I have that's specifically, for my brand. And then I have things that I only will like I only wear these dresses to church. I don't wear those anywhere else because I don't want to think about it when I'm getting dressed on Sunday. So those are very modest and they're long and they're, at least to the knee. We have a very specific rule that I can't wear pants if I'm in leadership. And I am in leadership, so I can't wear pants if I'm served, Now, if I just go to my church, I can wear jeans, but if I'm teaching, the pastor asked that we don't wear pants. So I have to have a very specific portion of my closet for that. Then I have a very specific portion of my closet that's just for television, and it's bright, and it's, but in my everyday life, it's black, ivory, red, gray. That's it. That is my whole life. That's what I wear. Those are my brand colors. That's it.
That is it. I love that. That's so great. I mean, yeah, I think it's just I think it's so important. And I'm so glad that you do what you do because I feel like it's something that can be very helpful for so many people. And I really hope that people will take advantage of you. And I want you to let everybody know how they can find you if they want to learn more. What's ways people can find you?
So the best way is you can go to my website, which is toisweeney.com. If you actually click on style consultation and enter the word style, it will give you 50% off of a style consultation right now. I know. So
no, I love a discount. So
don't tell anybody.
Before you go any further, I just want to make sure this is clear too. Do you work with men as well?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I just want to make sure
absolutely.
Let them know that it's not just for women. Guys, you can get the same type of guys, some of you guys need help too. So
I just had a male client that was texting me all weekend.
Yep.
He was so sweet. He's just like, this was such a good idea. You nailed it. You're awesome. I'm like, thank you. So he's adding it to his stories. Look what my stylist did. I'm like, you're amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun to work with the guys too. I love it. But yeah, that's toisweeney.com. I'm Toi Sweeney everywhere except for on Twitter where I'm Sweeney Toi. I don't know why. I just am.
Whatever. So toisweeney.com, and I'll put that up for everybody to follow her. So I want you guys to follow her on Instagram, check out her website, and on her website it has links to the book, or you can look it up on iTunes.
Yes, everything's on my website, and then if you're interested in a style consultation, I got a little thirsty there. If you type in the word style, it will automatically give you 50% off.
Wow.
But don't tell anyone.
Fantastic. Just here on the Keisha Elaine show. That's it.
I love it.
That's so amazing. Thank you. Well, Toi, thank you so much for doing this. I hope that everybody out there got a little something that you can take with you. I know you did. There's no way you couldn't have, because that's full of great information. I feel like you got a lot for free just from this. So, so I want to thank you so much for doing this. And just a little FYI, we are going to have, like I said, I love my discount sale free. We're going to have a drawing again for one of Toi's books, her interactive book. So, um, so I'll give you details on that later. But once again, thank you so much, Toi, for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
It is so much fun. So thank you. And we will talk again.
Okay.
Bye. Wasn't that great? I told you. She is just amazing. I hope you all go out and get her book. Her book is really great. And as I mentioned, once again, it wouldn't be me without a giveaway. So today's giveaway is a e-copy of Toi's book, The Secrets of the Well-Dressed Brand. Want a copy of the book? Read the directions below to find out how. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, Keisha Barr. You can also find me on Instagram at Keisha Elaine Barr as well. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.